Hey there, guys. Welcome to Anthony Reviews, where, of course, Anthony reviews. And to sort of celebrate the 30th anniversary of Power Rangers this month, I decided to go ahead and do a top 10 of the Power Rangers Lightning Collection figures so far. As of now, what is this month? April 2023. These are my personal top 10 favorite Lightning Collection figures. So starting us off at number 10, we have Ecliptor from Power Rangers in Space, one of the primary bad guys, the sort of right hand to Astronema, who's the main villain of Power Rangers in Space, of course. And, I like this guy for a lot of reasons. One, it's a fun design, very simple black with the green Tron-esque lines, of course. And one of the things that I like a lot about the Lightning Collection is that it goes for realism in the sense that this is what he looked like on the show. This looks like a guy in a big foam rubber suit, in my opinion. They could have gone epic with it. They could have stylized it to a point where he looked more realistic or scary or whatever, but no, instead what we got was a very faithful adaptation of Ecliptor from the show. And I think that's great. I think that's really cool that we have such an iconic character represented in a way that is undeniably him. I feel like with Power Rangers, there's a lot of need to sort of reject the silly, and I think you should embrace it. I think that it is charming for a reason, and I think it's a little strange to ignore those aspects of it. He comes with a sword, which is pretty clean looking. Not a whole lot of paint apps on this guy. I mean, there's consistent paint apps in terms of there's a lot of green lines, but obviously it's just a black figure with some red eyes here and some greens, and we do get a little bit of detail with some circuitry there. In terms of for what this is, I think they have a great representation of Ecliptor here. This came in a 2-pack with Astronema, I believe, with an updated Astronema, and he looks good. That's all I can really say. Not the best figure. He's number 10, so he makes the top 10, but there's better figures to come. Then next we have number 9. It is Zeo Pink, Catherine herself. We've got her showing up here. This is obviously one of the many Zeo figures that we have. That team is complete, which is wonderful. The main reason I feel like this figure belongs on this list is the paint apps. I feel like there's a really good amount of clean paint apps on here. It's a good representation of the Zeo look, and ultimately, it's the Black Souls. So a lot of Power Rangers outfits have Black Souls, but a lot of figures that we have of those guys don't have the black painted on the bottom of the boots, and I don't know why. This does. This came in a 2-pack, another 2-pack figure with Cat and her Mighty Morphin Pink colors. And once again, it's like, I don't know why this one, we have all the Zeo figures, and this is the only Zeo figure with this detail. And that's kind of a running theme with Lightning Collection. Ironically, it's a consistent thing that they are not consistent whatsoever in terms of a lot of these paint details. But I think this is a really, really good look for Zeo Pink. We are missing the sort of smaller version of the saber. Kind of a bummer, but we do get the sort of unique shield item, which there's like a little bit of a scratch on mine. Not exactly excited by that, but I think that this is just a wonderful, wonderful look at Zeo. And in terms of Zeo, this is the best one, just because of the clean paint apps and the accuracy of the suit in general. So that's why Cat takes it. We also do get this alternative Catherine head with the ponytail. There was another head that is currently sitting on my Mighty Morphin Pink body. So this, I believe, is like the third, technically second or third, we got them at the same time, version of Cat that we have, and pretty decent likeness, I think it's pretty good for what it is. It's maybe not the best likeness, but in terms of Catherine, definitely a good look for her. So if you are a Pink fan, if you're a Catherine fan, I'm sure you already got this 2-pack, and if you don't have it, you should probably go ahead and get it. For number 8, we have the Dino Thunder White Ranger. This was a Walgreens exclusive, and if you're familiar with the figure, you'll know that there's a bit of a history with this guy. The original head that this figure came with looked like this, which at first glance, you're like, it's fine. It looks a little weird, like something's off, I'm not exactly sure what. And then you look at how the head's supposed to look, and you go, oh, this is missing a whole bunch of paint. Like, what happened? I have no idea. This helmet was clearly a mistake. It was not meant to go out like that. So Hasbro managed to get a replacement head out, And I think that's great. It's a shame that it happened in the first place, but if you were able to sort of contact Hasbro and let them know that you had your figure, you could get a replacement head. Now, for whatever reason, the head is not perfect. You can see there, like, there's like a misalignment with the red bits on the ridge there, which I don't think is, yeah, it's not present on this one. So no idea what happened there, but if you had the figure back like this, the black around the visor is way more important than the sort of alignment of the eyes there. So I think that's why this figure is a little bit lower on the list. I love this design. I think this is a stellar White Ranger design. It is striking. I love the shield, the sort of black on white look with the harsh red. It really makes the red pop with this all sort of black, white, and gold look. It's just a strong looking design, and I think it's a strong figure. I think it looks really neat. I think what this represents of Hasbro fixing their mistakes is really, really cool. You know, it would just be nice if they didn't make the mistakes in the first place, I guess. But in terms of this figure, I think this is a great looking figure. We also did get the alternate Trent head for this figure, and it's a good looking head. You know, I think it's better than the Catherine head. It's not like a stellar representation of the person, you know, but it looks good. I feel like you can look at this. If you had this on the shelf, you could tell who it's supposed to be. Not a look that we saw a lot. I don't ever recall him being in suit and helmetless. I'm sure you can find an image if you looked hard enough, but not exactly how I imagine the guy. So I don't get a lot of use out of the head, but it is there and it is cool. So that's appreciated. For number 7, we have Time Force Red, Wes, the Red Ranger here. Time Force is a very, very popular season. I'm sure it's a lot of people's favorites. It might be my personal favorite, honestly. It's a great season. There's a lot going on there. And it has a fantastic suit. The simplicity of these suit designs are just, that's what really makes a Power Ranger suit awesome. I think what really helps with something like Mighty Morphin is, even though there's a theme with the whole dinosaur thing, or prehistoric, I guess, if you want to, you know, a mastodon and a saber-toothed tiger, whatever. But once again, here, this could have been a Power Ranger suit that we got first, and I think it would have stuck with people. It's got the silver sort of mouthpiece. It has a very simple chest design, the silver on the boots and the sort of arm guards. I think there's a lot here to appreciate that it's not distracting. Like, you know, the Time Force. This is all about time travel. They're time cops. You don't really get that from the figure too much, but it's simple. You know, you've got arrows kind of showing the arrow of time, if you will, kind of like a clock. You've got this sort of hands of a clock. So you do have some similar kind of ideas there. But ultimately, one of the reasons I picked this figure is because of the body. Now, you'll kind of see here, I'll bring in a figure for sort of comparison, but the body is slimmer than your average Power Rangers Lightning Collection body. We'll just bring in for comparison's sake. Here is In Space Red. As you can see, it's a bulkier body, which isn't too distracting, you know? Like, you know, it still looks like a skin-tight spandex suit, but for this one, he just looks that much more Power Rangers-esque. And maybe, I don't know, maybe Time Force is just that much more slimmer than your average sort of Sentai sort of stunt double, but I don't know, something about this body, it makes me wish it was the body for all of them. I feel like this is an accurate representation. This is fine. This works. I think I like this better. So ultimately, that's why this Ranger makes the list, is just because it's a great design, and it's just a bit more of an accurate Power Ranger look to me. That's really all what it comes down to. And the thumbs up. I mean, I think that's a fantastic addition. How could you not? It's a Power Ranger with a thumbs up. That's awesome. That's great. Once again, we do have an alternate head here for Wes. Pretty decent Jason Font likeness. I feel like I can recognize this face. I can recognize this as a Jason Font action figure. So that's pretty good. I don't know if it captures him perfectly. You know, I think of Wes as a fairly happy, smiley character. Maybe a smile would have been more appropriate, but I can't be mad at sort of a stoic, you know, straightforward expression. It's less distracting. You know, if it looks good on a shelf, you don't have to explain why he's all happy and smiling, I guess. But it's a good likeness. Maybe not the best, but I keep saying that as if like any of them are the best. But this one's good. I do like this one. For number 6, we have the Dino Charged Red Ranger Tyler. This was actually one of the first figures to come out. This is a Wave 1 figure. I actually reviewed this on my channel like years ago at this point. Honestly, it's a really good figure, and one of the best, if not the best, depending on how the rest of this list looks, Red Rangers that we have. I think they really nailed it right out of the gate. There's a lot of like extra detailing on here. Obviously, you've got this sort of like bit across that's all sculpted. It's not painted. You've got the sculpted sort of sleeves here that kind of represent like, I don't know, kind of chainmail-y, but it's more of just like a textured look. To be fair, it's not meant to be chainmail in the show in terms of, I don't know, it looks like how it does in the show. That's what matters. And I've said it before with Cat. Another reason this figure is so great is because of the paint apps. This is the only Dino Charged Ranger with the silver tops of the hands here. That's supposed to be on every one. This is the only one they did it on. And the black boots again. The black soles on the boots. This is the only other time that I'm aware of, other than a Black Ranger, I guess, where you have that on here. I don't know why they only did that with some of them. We started off strong, where it's like, okay, that's how it should look. That's the norm. And then they just never did it. No other one, like I said, besides the Black Ranger, in the Dino Charge team has the black soles, and they're supposed to. They're supposed to look like this, and none of them do. Now, of course, with stuff like this, you can customize it, right? Like, you can get some silver paint and put that on there and put some black on the boots. Like, it's not the end of the world, ultimately. However, it's supposed to look like this. And when you set a sort of a standard of like, okay, this is what the Rangers will look like, well, then you can't sort of go back on it and then even worse, switch back and forth on it. You know, like the amount of detail on the buckle. You can see it, you know, it's decently painted. They use a gray plastic to sort of represent the belt. That's understandable. You go, okay, I get it. That's just what it's going to look like. But when you set expectations with certain paint apps and then get rid of them in later lines, it's frustrating. So for that, Tyler here is the best one, just by having the most accurate paint apps here. I like Dino Charge quite a bit. I like it as a show. I like the suit designs. I think they're fun. They're exciting. They really catch your eye. And yeah, I think this figure captures that look fairly well. And of course, we have another alternate head here. This being the first wave, it's not the best looking of the alternate heads, honestly, but you still get the feel that it's Tyler. Brennan Mejia, you know, once again, another actor, another character with Tyler where a smile would probably be more appropriate. He's a very happy-go-lucky boy. He's very Dick Grayson-esque. So, and I mean that. The actor performs in the circus. So, like, maybe that would have been more appropriate. But, you know, like I said, the stoic expression is the safest bet. You know, sometimes when you go too hard on the expressions, the likeness can get lost and it gets a little weird. So, yeah, for a first wave, pretty good. And just like that, we're in the top 5 now. So number 5, of course, is Mighty Morphin Lord Zed. Technically a wave 1, but this is actually from the 2-pack they released with Rita Repulsa, with just the added paint detail. Look at this staff out of the way. It's just going to be loose with the fingers and everything. Lord Zed, an iconic Power Rangers character, of course. Probably one of the most iconic 90s villains in general. The exposed weird muscle, the brain, the visor. They really went all out. And so to finally have an appropriate sort of representation of the character in action figure form is great. You know? Like, he's just so good. I love the sort of painted silver details. I love all the tubes that go through them. Like, you know, there's honestly not a whole lot to say, just because I really like what they did, and that's that. You know, there's not a whole lot to sort of complain about. There's one thing. I feel like Lord Zed in the show never came off as tall. I don't know about you. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass here, but I feel like he wasn't that tall. He just came off as short to me. I don't know what it is. So, like, if you bring in, you know, Andros, you're coming back in. It's like, I don't know. I just feel like Lord Zed wasn't this tall compared to the Rangers. Maybe you can pull up an image and show that he actually was tall, but I didn't get that vibe. But that's really the only complaint that I have. Other than that, it's wonderful to have such a great representation of an iconic Power Rangers villain right out of the gate. The wave one was missing some paint outs, like I said, on the fingers, but they quickly fixed that, and I don't know how they would improve them other than maybe the height thing. But once again, that might just be a me thing. Not entirely sure. Then for number 4, we have Finster. That's really just it. It's Finster from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I never really thought we would get a Finster, honestly. In terms of the other guys, we're actually not missing a whole lot. We just need Squat and Babu. But the original Season 1 crew, Rita, Goldar, Scorpina, I just don't think we would ever get to a character like this. But I'm so glad that we did. This is the guy that made all the putties and all the monsters, and he's got all his tools here, which are removable, by the way. I just think that it's great that we have such a fun villain design in action figure form. He's got an articulated mouth, that's awesome, it just gives that very guy in a suit feel, or woman in a suit, potentially, considering how short this character was. We've got the molded glasses. He's got, like I said, all of his little bits and pieces. He's got his monocle. There's just so much to appreciate here. And they could have not painted, some of the stuff like the reds or the silvers or any of that. And, granted, they could always have painted more. But I really appreciate that a character like Finster was made and that he was as good as he was. The rarity of getting a character like this is more exciting than anything else because it's Finster. And in a world where we can make a dozen versions of the Mighty Morphin team and do all that, it's rare that you get to see some of those other characters in the Mighty Morphin world. And so having a character like Finster, who's never, he's never fighting anybody, he's never in battle, he's just sort of a, the guy who comes in and is like, I have made a monster. It's as simple as that. It's still crazy that a character that's iconic from the show, but at the same time not super represented, gets a really cool figure. So I'm happy. I'm happy with Finster. His eyes are kind of going off in different directions. But hey, he's old. What are you going to do? Don't be mean to him. He's old. Come on, be nice. Coming in at number 3, we have another Wave 1 character, actually. It is SPD, Shadow Ranger, Doggy Kruger. And I mean, come on. Look at this awesome design. The solid black with just the blues and the reds and everything. It looks so good. SPD is another season that I consider one of my personal favorites. I think it's great. I think there's a lot of good stories there, a lot of good characters, and Doggy Kruger is a fan favorite. I love this guy. He looks like a space ranger in a way. He's just so cool. This is something that I feel like you could take out of Power Rangers and just put in things, and it would be appreciated, And it's Wave 1, and there's some certain things where it's instead of the grays, maybe some silver would be more appropriate there. I don't know, but it's a figure. What are you going to do? He looks awesome. He's got a good amount of paint detail, good amount of sculpts. He's just great. And that's why I love Doggy Kruger. I think he just is such a cool design, and in figure form, they really, really managed to pay that all off, which is great. And for an alternate head, we get something that we've never seen. We don't get a lot of Doggy Kruger and without a helmet, but we get this, and he gets an extra neck piece to kind of give that more of a smooth transition. You can't even really tell that it's a separate piece. It just looks so clean, so nice. I mean, obviously Doggy Kruger is an iconic sort of weird alien dog design. He's a great character from the show, fan favorite character. And it was just so awesome that they went the extra mile for this alternate head, which is not shown on TV or whatever, but in terms of the head, well, the head is, normally when he's out of his Ranger suit. But in terms of this here, in the Ranger suit, not a thing that happened, but we still want it. They knew that fans would like this, and so they gave it to us anyway. So very, very happy. Another reason why Doggy Kruger is so high up, just that excellent alternate head. For the number 2 spot, we actually have one of the monster figures. Granted, this isn't a deluxe monster figure, but we have the Tengu, depending on how you're feeling, Warrior from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 3, or, if you want to go, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, which is how I prefer to look at it. So, this guy is just so nice looking. The way the pearlescent green shines off the figure there, the purple with all this sort of gold sort of detail on the chest piece and everything. It just gives it that extra flair You know, like, this could have been a flat purple. This could have just been a flat black, you know? But it's that extra detail there that really sells it. Like, if you look at, you know, like the back of the head, it could have looked like that all over, but it doesn't. You know, like, all that extra stuff really, it really adds up, in my opinion. You know, once again, we've got an articulated mouth. It's not super articulated by any means. Can't get it, like, super open, but that head sculpt, you know, it's the thing I've talked about. It feels like there's a person in here. It's a really big rubber suit. Once again, it might be a little too big, but then again, it might not be. Maybe I'm just remembering them. They were always, like, sort of haunched over like this in the show, you know, with their arms out, you know, ready to attack. So maybe they're not as short as I remember them being. So when you have them up straight, it gives it more of a bigger, intimidating feel. I don't know, but either way, this is such a fun design that, like, I want to see this in other things. Like, this is something you'd want to see the level of detail out of, you know, some sort of sci-fi fantasy film. You know, I've seen stuff in the new Dungeons and Dragons movie that feels reminiscent of this, and that's fun. You know, when it comes down to it, when you're dealing with Power Rangers and you're dealing with Power Rangers toys, it's got to be fun for me. And ultimately, this is fun. He came with alternate wing pieces, so if you wanted big ones like this, you could have little ones. He came with an egg, whole bunch of cool stuff. So ultimately, this is the ultimate henchman figure, in my opinion. They've released like a 2-pack with alternate colors and everything. I like prefer the purple and greens here, you know, very supervillain-esque, you know, something like Lex Luthor or the Green Goblin. You know, it's got that supervillain feel. So I'll stick with this one. I think this is where I'm going to go. Either way, it is a great figure. And for number 1, it's your boy, the Phantom Ranger. If you saw my top 10 of the year, this actually made the list. It is the only Lightning Collection figure from 2022 that made the list. And there's a reason for that. You know, maybe it's a recency bias. I don't know. I don't care. This guy is such a clean design. You know, maybe it's the sort of like the Snake Eyes effect. You know, he doesn't have a whole lot going on. He's dark. He's mysterious. You know, we don't know what's under the mask. There is no alternate head because we've never seen this guy without it. But I love this look, this sort of leather, sort of robo biker kind of feel to it. He's got a cool sci-fi blaster. You know, it's just cool. You know, I compared him to something like RoboCop in the top 10 video. And I don't know, he's just so neat. He's so simple. And the simplicity is what wins me over. That's really it. You know, you've got a bunch of wonderful little sculpted detail in terms of like the leathery bits. It still has that feeling of a movie or TV show character. You know, there's a guy in here. The same way like the RoboCop or like C-3PO is a guy in a suit, but you still believe it as a robot, right? Not saying that this is a robot. We actually don't know. Maybe there's a comic or something. There's always ideas of like, oh, is he the son of Zordon or something like that? Obviously, Cassie, our pink Turbo and In-Space Ranger, had a crush on him. She never saw his face. Who knows what he looked like? He could have looked like anybody. Seth Green. I don't know. I'm not dogging on Seth Green. I'm saying he could have looked like Seth Green. Either way, this guy is cool. That's what it boils down to. He can be anybody. He can be anything. And I think in terms of an action figure, that's what you want. You kind of want that ability to make your own stories. And in terms of the story that he's from, he's cool from that too. He would show up, do his thing, and be like, I can't tell anybody my secret, and then leave. Awesome. Love it. How can I not love it? So, Phantom Ranger gets the number 1 spot. That's what you get. And here you guys go. Here are what I consider to be the top 10 figures from the Power Rangers Lightning Collection from, of course, Hasbro. Do you guys agree with this list? Is there some that you would change? Maybe some team members you'd swap out? I would love to know down in the comments. Of course, this is just my personal list. It was very hard not to go exclusively 6 Rangers because I feel like they have a lot of the best designs sometimes. But as I mentioned, sometimes simplicity really does win out. And sometimes character also influences it just a little bit. But thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to like the video. Make sure to subscribe for more content. I've got some other Power Rangers content. If you just want to see my entire Power Rangers Lightning collection in one video, I do have that as well. I've got other content available as well. Just repeat myself at this point. But once again, thank you so much for watching. Take care.